Believe it or not, some teams have media day in like a week. There's going to be teams practicing official training camp practices in like 10 days. The NBA season is just around the corner, which means it's time for predictions. We're going to talk about all the major awards and standings predictions for both conferences today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and the West Side Community News. And today, despite me saying we're talking about the Pacers, we're talking about all 30 teams today, baby. One of my favorite topics to do because I get to talk about more than just the Pacers. Today, we're predicting the Major Six award winners in the league, and if the Pacers have a chance at any of them. They seem to have a most improved winner once every 5 years, and they have a shot again this year. So we'll, of course, discuss that. And then at the end, do standings predictions for each conference. Because the NBA starts in less than 10 days, preseason action is like 2 weeks away with those teams playing. I think September 30th is the first preseason game overseas. Insane. Joining me to talk all things NBA, that guy I message every time I want to talk about more teams than just the Pacers on this show. Shane Young is here again. Third time, fourth time, I can't remember. Shane, are you excited? We're 2 weeks away from NBA basketball finally being back.
Half of me is thrilled because it's been missed, basketball in general. Half of me is like not ready for this, 3 or 4 games in a week grind. You know how that goes.
Yes, that is true. This offseason has been weird because it's the first normal one we've had in like 3 years, and my body had reacclimated to like there's never a gap in the NBA. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to like chill out for 3 weeks.
You mean there's not a July NBA Finals this time?
Yeah, and the Fever didn't make the playoffs, so like I've been watching the WNBA playoffs and Eurobasket. I don't have to cover that stuff that much, so I'm just like, all right, this is nice. But I do want to talk about the whole league today and the awards because I have a lot of takes and opinions, and it's fun to talk about league awards. And why not just start with the big one and the only one that I would say no Pacer involvement, no chance whatsoever. That's MVP, the league MVP. Jokic has won 2 years in a row, and ironically, I think he's got a shot to be the best player in the league again. But as it went with Giannis, after you win 2 in a row, unless your team is going to win 70 games or you look like the obvious title favorite, narrative does not let you win a third one in a row unless you are that dominant in the NBA these days. And so it's a pretty wide open field this year because of how that has gone in the past, how it went with Giannis and now how it looks like it's going with Jokic. So I have 3 names typed down for my top 3 for MVP. But Shane, I will let you go first. Who are your top 3 MVP candidates for this coming season?
Yeah, I think it was really challenging to come down to just 3. I have like 4. I have like the third and the fourth spots kind of tied because I don't think either of those guys will get it. I guess I'll go with like worst to best. I get worst to first. I think 3, 4. You could make a really good argument for Luca Doncic and Joel Embiid this coming year. I said you can make an argument like we haven't even seen the freaking games yet. Like it doesn't matter. Like I think that's what you're going to see though is Embiid is always just a perennial top 5 ballot guy. He might be that until he just ages out, the numbers just by sheer force in the paint, he's going to generate 15 free throws a game. Probably not an exaggeration this coming year. That gets them into that conversation alone. And I think Philly will win a lot of games too. So, I mean, that's just a quick explanation on Joel. Luca's team probably won't be good enough. I think they've regressed. We'll talk about that probably. I don't think Dallas is good enough for him to get that. And then, of course, to no one's surprise, I will go Nikola Jokic 2. And I'm picking the best player in the basketball world, Giannis Antetokounmpo, to get his 3rd. So not 3rd in a row. That would have been cool to see, for Jokic or Giannis in the respective years that they were up for it. But I'm going to go Giannis getting it because it feels like it is his world, and he's about to show us all this coming year.
Hopefully Gilbert Arenas is not listening to you pick Giannis as the winner. You have a very similar list to me, so that is good to know. Yeah. And I actually didn't even type Jokic down. I would have had him 4th if I did. Because of the things I said at the beginning, where like if I was actually projecting who I think will be the best 3 players in the regular season this year, Jokic is in that top 3 for sure. if I'm guessing who's going to win MVP, I'm not putting him in the top 3 because it's just how voters are now. The Nuggets
Yeah.
lose in the first round, and people are like, oh, what? They just have this thing in their head about what his value can be. The other 3 guys, though, that weren't Jokic that you said, that's mine as well. My order was Luca 3, Giannis 2, Embiid 1. I think
Embiid.
Yes, Joel Embiid is my
Okay.
MVP pick right now. For the similar reasons you said. He is an efficiency beast, unstoppable, a bajillion free throws a game. And the big one is the Sixers have a good shot to win the East now. If James Harden comes in shape, they're going to be awesome. They're probably going to have the best record they've had with Embiid on their team, right? They have better pieces around them now. They brought in Melton, right? Max is going to take a step forward, presumably. They're going to be very good. And if they are the 1 seed in the East, it's going to be pretty hard to overlook that in these discussions, especially if he puts up the stats that he did last year where he was second in MVP behind Jokic. And then Giannis, I agree with you, is the best player on the planet. Just as good a shot. If they win the East, he could easily take over Embiid here. Luca, I think, has the most volatility because the Mavs are worse than last year, but he's amazing. Like, he's a very good player. If they're just as good or better than last year, it'll be interesting to see where they land in the West because the West is insane. Like, I was ranking the teams for our final segment, and like someone very good is going to be out in the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
This year. And the Mavs got worse, but Luka's amazing. So, like, if they get top 3 in the West, that just means his season was ridiculous, right? And he's unbelievable. He's been carrying that cast of characters for years. So I kind of narrative-based reasons, but it'll kind of soak into the fact that the narrative means their team is playing well for all 3 of those guys. That's the order I went with. But really, any of those 3 winning it would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, I don't even think the Joel pick is a narrative one. Of course, the good feel-good story about it would be finish second twice in a row. Probably would have won it the previous year, so it's kind of hard to really explain when you're talking about in the off season. Like not the season we just saw, but the year before.
The James Harden narrative.
Yeah, I probably should have won it that year, but I think he missed. It was that funny argument with the Hoop Collective where, like, games missed really factored in with the award. But I think that's also my concern. It's like, it doesn't matter if, like, I think classifying Joel Embiid as injury prone is too strong. He's not injury prone. Like, it's a lot of freak things that happen to him, whether it's like someone bumping into his knee or breaking his face in that Toronto game. So I think for me, it comes down to, can he be durable for 68 games? If he could play 68 and you can lock that in, I like that pick. For me, I just kind of feel like whether it's back-to-backs or knee injuries or something, just random sicknesses, I feel like he misses too much.
Yeah, that is possible. I mean, he only played 51 2 years ago. 68 exact number.
Oh, really?
Okay. Season. Bravo, you were right on it.
Yeah.
On the Pacer front, no one has a shot. No one has a shot. If Tyrese has an amazing season, he won't win. The last time anyone got votes was Oladipo getting 2 fifth-place votes in his All-NBA season, getting 13th.
I'm surprised he got the votes.
He got 13th, and that is the last Pacer to get MVP votes, was Vic in that season. He was an All-NBA player. I think he deserved to be in the discussion. I wouldn't have voted. See, it's funny because I don't think Vic was a top 5 player that year, so I can't say he deserved votes, but I think you have to, like, give him breath.
Exactly. And the first instinct that came to mind was Paul George 2014, but then I remembered, even though they were the 1 seed by a couple games, Kevin Durant and LeBron won every vote. I'm pretty sure.
One of my least favorite awards tropes is like when one player's playing really well and someone says they should be in the MVP conversation. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. If you don't think they're the MVP, then they shouldn't be in the conversation. The conversation is, should they win MVP? And the answer is no, and that's the whole conversation. So, like, that your Vic is 13th. No one should ever have said he should be in the MVP conversation. But you should give him 2 minutes of how does he compare to the top guys. That's what I think it should be.
Precisely. I have a question for you, I guess, a larger MVP take here. Not so much a take, but just I'm curious. Even me, like, I did not put Steph Curry. He's not even on my piece of paper. So it's a little hilarious that the Finals MVP averaged 36-5 on the biggest stage. Probably has an argument for the best player in the world. I think Giannis is, but has an argument, and we're not even talking about him.
He is a victim of something interesting in a lot of these where he's amazing, When players are worse than they were at their apex, I think sometimes that hurts them in MVP arguments, even when they're insane. Like Steph's a guy who was like a 30 points per game guy for like a half decade. So seeing his stats drop last year, and especially his 3-point percentage, I think that if he has that same season again as last year, obvious All Star and a champion, like that's a great season. But
Yeah.
compared to peak Steph, I think that ends up hurting him in people's brains, even though it shouldn't. You're being compared to the field that year. It's just how people. I think it's just how humans are. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and considering age 34, 35 Steph is not
Right.
27, so, and to be honest, age 34, 35 Steph is not 27, 28 Giannis either,
Yeah,
so, I mean,
that's it.
that's kinda it, but I think we're pretty in line with MVP. You just got Embiid, I got, Giannis.
KD had 37 and 6 last year in 55 games. He finished 10th because he wasn't as
Yeah, do
good
you
as
see
Team
those
KD
shooting
and the net
splits as
last.
well?
Yeah, like if you drop from your own peak, even if you're still an incredible player, I think it's really hard to win MVP unless your team dominates your conference that year. Let's move on to a different award. Hey guys, let's take a short little break from all the awards talk so I can talk to you guys about betonline.net, your number one source for all of your pro and college football betting needs as we get headstrong into the football season. You can find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts all at betonline.net. They're your continued source for all your sports wagering information, live betting, esports, and scores. All the lines up for college football and NFL this week. Tonight, Chiefs, Chargers. Chiefs favored by 4. My fantasy team would very much like that to be the case. And BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, has all those lines and more, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head over to that website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. Now let's go back to talking with Shane Young about NBA awards and the standings at the end of the show. Really quickly, though, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Giannis. Which NBA player moves the betting line the most this season? Locked On and BetOnline have presenting the NBA top 50 most valuable players starting next Monday, September 19th. You can find it on Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts and YouTube. Let's keep talking NBA awards. I don't really have an order I care about going in, so let's do the one that the Pacers have the best shot at to open segment 2 here. Most improved player. And I'll go first this time. Although I say the Pacers have a good shot at it, I did type Tyrese Haliburton in my top 3 guys, but he was not my number one. My number one is Anthony Edwards, and he's in a unique situation like John Morant last year. Going into year 3 is typically when guys drafted high take this huge leap in usage and stats. And the Timberwolves are going to be way better, a la the Grizzlies last year. They got Gobert. They're also already pretty good and made the playoffs last year. It's the perfect recipe for Ant to take off in an easier situation and to take off because his team will be better. So I put him first. I put Haliburton second. Pacers fans know all about him. He's going to have the reins, the usage this year to put up ridiculous stats over the course of a full season. The Pacers probably won't be good enough for him to win, so I put him second. But I think he's going to improve by quite a bit, being the face of the franchise now. My third one is a guy that people were picking to win this award last year. That's Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson and his many injuries that have changed his career. Jaren Jackson dropped a ton in his shooting splits last year, ended up at 42-32. If he gets back to being the guy he was early in his career that was almost 40% from deep and like 47, 48% from the field, with his defense, he led the league in blocks last year. He could be like
Yeah.
a 2010 and league leader in blocks kind of guy. Like if the Grizzlies are awesome, there's a chance he wins again. That's my top 3. Who do you got? MIP, hit me.
Yeah, so I didn't. I think I told you I didn't do a really top. I just kind of like wrote some guys down that I'm kind of curious about. I really don't even know where to go with this. I actually have a couple questions. Where do we fall on the guy that is going from a smaller opportunity to now he's going to be a lead ball handler? And I'm talking about Jalen Brunson, someone
Ooh.
that was already really, really good. He was the Mavericks' second best player in the Western Conference playoffs. How do we kind of just go by stats on him this coming year?
Well, he'll be. He was pretty good in a lead ball handler role, but I think that if he as a full-time leader for a new team is still really good, that shows improvement in both skill and stats. So I think that would count by default. Like to tie it to Pacers, like Depot went from, hey, stand over there while Russ wins MVP to the lead ball handler, and his stats and skills clearly got better. And when he won it, for example, like I think Brunson could have not exactly that because he was more involved than Vic was with the Thunder, but similar sort of arc, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and honestly, and I'm not. It's not just because it's a Pacers pod. I like Halliburton for this. Just the more I look at it, because the team is not going to win games. The team is not going to win more than 25 games or so. I don't see a reason why he couldn't just fill up the stat sheet and improve in his pick and roll playmaking, which is already really good. It can always be better. I don't see why he won't take a step defensively because of the coach that he's under as well. So I kind of like the statistical case for Halliburton. It's going to come down to, I know in years past, like, we don't even really consider guys for this award. I mean, didn't Mikal Bridges get close in this or win it? I can't remember who.
I think
And he was always on a
so.
team that,
Last
like,
year or 2 years ago.
I think last year. What he wasn't even.
Yeah, Mikal didn't get a
Maybe it
vote
was 2
last
years ago.
year. 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
maybe it's two. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. But I feel like your team has to be near the playoffs or in the playoffs. So I don't think like he'll win it. But that to me is screaming the best case. And then I was kind of looking at the Raptors, see if they had anyone. But I feel like Van Vliet took his leap already. And he's too old, I feel like, to win the award as well. I think OG Anunoby is what he is. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think the leap is coming for him. So I was just kind of looking around for some teams that I think will overachieve compared to expectations. But I'm not really. I'm kind of drawing blanks on this year's most improved. I have one in mind, but I want to save him for a different award. So
If the Knicks are a firm playoff team, like top six for sure, no play in, one of Barrett or Brunson's going to have to be really good this year, right? Good enough
yeah,
that they reach that. And so whichever one of them it is, I think will have a very good chance, especially with how the Knicks season went last year. Shane, I will Venmo you $10 right now if you can tell me the last Pacer to get a vote for most improved player.
get a vote.
One vote,
Well, I
any
know the
vote.
last one that won it.
No looking it up. You have
Oh,
three
I
seconds.
just know. I know who the last one who won it.
Yeah,
I
that
just
was
don't
Vic.
know.
That was Vic. The last player to get a vote, a single vote.
Okay. I was gonna say, you're trying to trick me. Like, is it
No
gonna be
tricks.
some guy that? Okay, yeah. I thought the answer was Vic. I'm gonna go with Vic. I don't know.
It is not Vic. In
Oh,
2020-21, one Pacer got one vote for most improved player, and that was
TJ Warren.
TJ McConnell getting
Oh, McConnell.
a
Oh.
fifth place vote in his age 28 season with a career high in scoring, assists per game, and
Who the
being
hell
a
was
steals
that?
pest. A steals pest, TJ McConnell. I think he led the league in steal percentage that year. Halliburton's got a great shot at this, I think. Odds makers put him in the top 2 or 3 with Ant and Knicks guys, who we just talked about. And if the Pacers get to 30, 35 wins, likely that means he's been very good. A lot of stats project that he will be very good.
Yeah.
I think he's got a pretty damn good shot at this if the Pacers are
Is it?
good and he is able to kind of balance the shooting and passing a little bit better. He's a little too passive at times. If he figures all that
Yeah.
out, I think he's got a great shot. And this is probably the most likely award. And this is the Pacers award, right? Jermaine O'Neal, Paul George, Vic, Jalen Rose, Danny Granger. They've cleaned up in this. Halliburton's in the position to do it again, and I think that is completely fascinating. We're going very slow, which is good because the discussions are good. But I like a little more speed here. So let's go to
Oh yeah.
what I would say is the hardest one. Coach of the year.
Oh
You can go first this week.
gosh.
Who'd you got?
Oh, I'm gonna go first. Okay, man. I don't know how much I agonize over this one, and I really shouldn't because it doesn't really matter that much. Number 3, I'm going Ime Udoka. A lot of people think that he was probably the best coach last year because of the midseason turnaround, and I don't disagree with that entirely. Although Spo has a good case, I don't have Spo on my top 3 just because I think everyone loves the guy already, and I just don't know if he's gonna. I don't know if he's gonna like put Miami through the roof. I think they've regressed, so he's gonna take a hit when he really shouldn't because he's probably the best coach in basketball. My number 2, I'm going Tony East with Nick Nurse. Number 2,
Wow.
I'm really high on Toronto, as I already discussed
considered him.
a little bit.
That's not that crazy to me.
I think Toronto very well could be a home court seed. I would not pick it, but it could happen. And I think Nick Nurse, obviously the talent around him is what elevates that team, but his philosophies, his willingness to try anything, I love it. Number 1, I know I went slow through these, but number 1, the best team in the Western Conference, probably not record-wise this year, but overall will be the LA Clippers. And I think Ty Lue, is a good chunk of that reason. He, like Nick Nurse, is not afraid to try out different defenses. has a very, very deep offensive playbook that takes like the team half the freaking season to figure out. That's why they kind of look ugly in clutch times in the early parts of the year. But I'm gonna go Ty Lue number one with the best season in Clippers franchise history.
Well, I don't know about that last thing you said, but we do have the same winner. I picked Ty Lue as well. The Clippers are going to be way better than last year. Obviously, they have Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to
You know
be
the
better.
reason I said that, Tony, is because they've only been the number 2 seed once. They've
I did
never
not
gotten
know
a
that.
1.
They are I'll spoil a little bit. They are my 2 seed in our standings discussion later.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I picked Ty Lue as well for a lot of the similar reasons. Like, not only is he great at setting up a system around stars that also elevates the role players, whatever you want to call what John Wall and Reggie Jackson and Zubac do on that team, but like he's an underrated developer, I think, of young
Yeah.
guys who fit into that system. Like Coffee just randomly is good. Terrence Mann is now a $10 million man. Zubac has gotten much better under Ty Lue, for example. Like young guys do well in the Clippers, and these aren't highly drafted guys, like hardly ever, right? He does a very good job with them. Like Luke Kennard, I think, is the only noteworthy sort of recent first-round pick he's had, and he's made him a much more refined shooter. I had him first as well. My number 2 one, I spoiled this one for you before we started recording. I just typed whoever wins the East is going to finish second here because the East is insane. You could make good arguments for the Bucks, Sixers, Celtics, Heat. You have the Raptors in the top 4. If Kevin Durant stays with the Nets the whole season, like what the hell are you going to do with Steve Nash? Where does he land?
I will say I can't see Doc Rivers winning it. I will say that. I'm sorry.
True. That is tough. The Cavs have Donovan Mitchell now, and like JB Bickerstaff did an awesome job last year before his entire team got hurt.
Where'd he finish?
I don't remember because Basketball Reference only tracks player award votes.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely top 3.
Yeah,
Absolutely
he did very well
3.
last year. So whoever wins the East, I think will get second.
Yeah.
And the third name I typed, Michael Malone. Malone. Nuggets going to have their guys this year. Jokic might not win MVP, but they're going to win a lot of games with Jamal Murray back, Shane. I think he's going to have a good case.
I forgot. R2 like Jamal Murray's like number 1 fan. I forgot.
Not quite that high, but I saw him play IU in the NCAA tournament in college, and I thought, then this guy's going to be good. And when you're right, you just like a guy, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, I really like. I feel like Coach of the Year. You could throw 8 names. Like Taylor Jenkins, I believe, won it last year, if I'm not wrong. And like they absolutely deserved it. And it's an award that like it goes to the coach that leads his team out of nowhere to a high seed.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get that this year. Then again, you don't know because it comes out of nowhere. But I just don't see a team coming from like a 7 to a 2. Not in this particular year on both standings. So yeah, I think it has to go to the best coaches this time, and you know, Ty is probably 1 or 2.
So like Mark Daigneault, let me talk about Mark Daigneault for just a second. You'll see why. Like Mark Daigneault, every player on the Thunder gets better like throughout the season. They just have a bad team. So the criteria for winning this award is not fair, I think, because development is a huge part of coaching that gets ignored completely in this. And that transition, where I like Mark Daigneault, first of all, is to say Rick Carlisle does not have a chance. I mean, the Pacers, for them to even get in this conversation, like when McMillan was in this discussion, they were a 48. They would have won 50 games had they played all 82 in 18-19. Yeah. Like they had to be that good for Nate to even get discussed. They're not going to win that many this year. Like Rick could do a good, like Ben Mathurin could look way better, and Halliburton was most improved, and they win 40 games and make the plan. And Rick still would have no chance. Like it's just the nature of how the award goes.
And my mistake, Monty Williams won it because they just zoomed off with 8 wins, better than any other team. So,
yes, I thought so, but I always get confused with like the coach winner of the Coach of the Year and the NBA winner of the Coach of the Year. Yeah, I don't think Rick has a chance. Let's do another one, and a sad one. I have to type a frowny face in the line here. Rookie of the Year. My frowny face is because I would have picked Chet. And Chet is not going to win Rookie of the Year because he's not going to play in any games. This one's interesting, too, because the Pacers have their highest draft pick since the 1980s. This is the first time Rookie of the Year is actually interesting for them. Last year, in Forbes' team season previews, for the Pacers' best bet, I put Chris Duarte for Rookie of the Year as their best bet at like plus 4,000. And for the first month and a half, I was like, hell yeah, everybody, listen to me in the future. And then he got hurt a bunch and it didn't matter. But still, made all rookie teams. So they've done a good job setting up rookies for success with their current regime. That said, I get to go first because this is an even number award here. I would have picked Chet. He's not possible. So I'll go with Boncaro because he's going to start and play a lot. For the Magic, they have good forwards. Jonathan Isaac, Franz Wagner, killing it in Eurobasket. They're good. Boncaro's going to be better. He's going to get the touches on that team, I think, to win it. Jaden Ivey, I think, is going to get a bunch of touches too. I have him second. I had him second in my draft rankings too. He's in a great situation to develop. And then Jabari Smith, by nature of the draft, is third. I think he'll get a ton of chances to shoot threes for the Rockets. I think other guys could be in the mix, and I think it's boring that I picked 3 of the top 4 picks and would have picked the second pick to win it. But
that's how it goes.
There's
right?
a reason they got picked high. Yeah, they're the best players.
I mean, I like that I'm different here. I've just, I'm not a big draft guy, not a big college guy at all. But after once summer league happens, I'll see what they do there. Then I'll go back and watch their film once they're actually in the NBA. I love Jabari Smith. I'm going with him number one on this.
Okay.
And you would think, they have too many guards. They have too many guys that need the ball or that want the ball. That's true. I just like the flair. I like the cockiness that Houston plays with those young guys. For lack of a better way of saying it. I love it. I think that he's going to be a highlight reel. Maybe not like in the air like Jalen Green, but I feel like he's going to have a lot of games. I don't say a lot, but I think he could put up 25, 30 on a good, decent, consistent basis. In games that maybe are marquee games. I think he just has that oomph to him that I really love. And last year in college, shot 42% from 3 on pretty solid to high volume. I'm not saying that's going to stick, but I would love to see him shoot 36% on moderate NBA volume. So I'm going to go him and then Boncaro too. Orlando just has a team that if he's not at like 20% usage, if he's not at the guy that they can go to down the stretch of close games, I'd be very shocked. So he's going to be there. Neither of these teams are winning a lot of games, but those are my top 2. Those are my only 2 that I'm really considering, barring injuries.
Yeah, Keegan Murray, neither of us said his name. People loved him in Summer League. I think he'll have a very solid career as one of those guys who just you somehow missed that he had 18 and 9 in the game and you somehow don't remember any of the makes, which is a good player. I don't think he's a shot at Rookie of the Year because he is the least flashy top 5 pick by a mile, and the Kings aren't going to be good enough for him to get noticed. He'd have to score a lot. And I think on a team with now Fox and Herter and Davion and good bigs and Harrison Barnes, he'll be good, but not enough touches there for him to really sneak in, especially as they try to make the play in. So that's the top 5 picks. Ben Mathurin, Pacers, 6th pick. Great Summer League. Makes all Summer League team. One of the few rookies to do so. Will be given a long leash with the Pacers, right? They're in development mode. He will get lots of touches. Presumably will start next to Tyrese Halliburton. I usually just think rookies are going to be bad. And so you have to get a lot of touches to win Rookie of the Year. And some of times they're just good. And I think Benedict Mathurin will be good. I'm not sure he'll be good right away. He'll get tough shots because the Pacers don't have the best sort of creation system on a developing team. So if he can create his own 3, maybe he puts up awesome stats and is in the mix more than I'm giving him credit for. But I don't think he'll have quite the burst or self-creation ability in year 1 to get into this mix. But I think he's got a chance. I mean, he was good in Summer League and did a lot of those things. I just don't think right now he's ready for that.
How much do you think Carlisle will either encourage or hold back those creation attempts? Or I feel like Rick should encourage more Mathurin self-creation. But how he is. I mean, if it's like a 8-point game with 5 minutes left and they have a shot to come back, I just don't know if he's going to want that. But.
Can I tell you a story about Rick Carlisle?
Yeah.
So I read this. I was writing about Justin Anderson, who the Pacers signed for their last 20 games of the season. I was researching him playing for Carlisle in Dallas. And Tim McMahon of ESPN wrote this story about how unusual it was that Rick Carlisle trusted Justin Anderson, a rookie, in the playoffs. And part of the story was about Rick originally getting fired in Detroit for not playing Tayshaun Prince enough as a young player. So that's a lot of background to say. I wanted to ask Rick Carlisle, what is it about Chris Duarte that makes you trust him more as a rookie than you have in the past? Because, here's what Tim McMahon said about you. So I said, Rick, what makes you more encouraged to play Chris than some of the rookies you've had in the past? In the past, you've been a little bit more into leaning in on vets and rookies. And he looks at me and he goes, I played Luca a lot, didn't I? And I was like, okay.
Oh, my God.
Yep, you did. So I say all that story to say that I think coaching that developing Mavs team with Luca sort of now has him in the mindset to give Mathurin the right opportunities to self-create and to grow this year and not just sort of chase wins and expectations. Maybe they will. It's the Pacers franchise. It has always been the Pacers franchise, but I think he'll give Mathurin opportunities. And so that's why he's got a shot at Rookie of the Year. I typed him. I think he deserves discussion here. But I think that a lot of the top 5 is in a really good position to get a lot of touches and put up stats, and that's just going to make it tough for him.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm always wondering, like, are you higher on Mathurin than you were on Duarte last year?
Yeah, I
Like,
think so. Yes, I do.
okay,
I am.
yeah, me too.
I am. But also, the Pacers were trying to be good last year, so it's like it's hard to compare
Yeah.
their situations entering the season. 2 more awards. One of them is the one I just was guessing, and I think I'm mostly guessing every year. 6th Man of the Year. I just don't know.
Yeah, this is my favorite. I love this.
I just don't know who teams are going to start. So
Yeah.
you should be going first here, but I'm just going to tell you I typed six names. I can't count 5 names, and it's just because I have no idea who's going to start and not start. The 5 names I have in front of me are the guy who won last year, Tyler Hero, Derrick Rose, who, if the Knicks are good, it's because potentially he was good for their second unit. Denny Avdia, who's been balling for Israel in Eurobasket and should be good for the Wizards off the bench this year. John Wall, presuming Reggie Jackson starts for the LA Clippers. Okay, I have 2 more. I do have 6 names. Tim Hardaway Jr., returning from injury for the Mavs. If he's behind Luca, has a great opportunity to light up the scoreboard and fit perfectly into the 6th Man of the Year box. And DeAnthony Melton, who is now with the Sixers.
Man,
did I not say any of your list?
You didn't, and that's what I love about this is that
you're just guessing. You're just guessing.
You can easily, like, all those selections you just said. What was the last one you said?
Anthony Melton, now with the Sixers.
I didn't really think about him, but I love that pick now. And like, you could take 20 names because I have 3 right here that I think are. I'm not gonna say like locks. Nothing's a lock, but I think they're going to be absolutely in the conversation considering how good I think their teams will be. Number 3, Cam Johnson. I don't think they'll start him. Like, I think they'll continue to go with Jay Crowder and Ayton at the 4-5, right? And then Bridges at 3, and then your guards. But hey, he might start. What you said at the top of this segment, like, you have no idea. Like,
I don't know.
Honestly, he probably should start. And that's why he's going to be in this mix, because he's going to shoot 45% from 3. It's a little generous, but he's going to be lights out. And I want to see more self-creation out of him too on the pick and roll. Number 2, I don't think he'll start. He could, but I love Bogdan Bogdanovic. I love him for Atlanta.
These are both good ones. He'll start though, right? They traded Herter. Oh no,
well,
they have DeJounte. Holy crap.
Yeah, they have DeJounte. So they could go. So it's probably gonna be Trey, DeJounte, Hunter, Collins.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great one. That is a great one.
I think he might average 15, 16, 17. 17 might be high, but he's gonna average a lot. He's gonna shoot a lot.
You are smoking me in this. I like your answers way better than mine.
How do you feel about my number 1 though? My number 1, he is not going to start. I've been told the Clippers are going with, John or Reggie, one of those 2. Pick one. Sure. PG, Kawhi, Marcus, Nico, or Rocco, one of those 3 at the 4, and then Zubats. So Norm Powell is not going to start, and I love Norman Powell as a shooter, creator, passer. The dude has everything you want in a package, and I think he is going to be the most efficient out of these options. Norm Powell is my winner.
So, John Wall, Norm Powell, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris. That's a second unit?
It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid.
The Clippers are ridiculous. Those are fantastic answers. I feel like 6 man's a lot of guessing, as I said, because we don't know who's going to start. But like,
and I feel like you chose. That's what I like about this. I feel like you went with more maybe stat heavy guys taking another leap, I guess, and then guys that aren't going to be on winning teams necessarily. I think my guys probably won't average a lot, other than maybe Bogdanovic. But I think Norman Powell will be at comfortably 16 a game. Because think about the games that Kawhi's going to miss. He's probably going to miss 20. So
it would not surprise me if this is just like becomes a Lou Williams situation for Hero, where it's just like the Heat have an obvious starting lineup that it doesn't make sense to put Hero in, and then he just comes in off the bench and is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna drop 21 on you without even trying." Like if he does that again, he will probably win, and it doesn't matter.
Speaking of Hero, I still have a video saved on my phone, Tony, of us doing this All-Star thing in February on this podcast, and I said I have Tyler Hero's name written down. You said he's not on my paper.
Yeah, I did not. He's good, man. I probably underrated
Yeah.
him a little bit. I did not consider him. Yeah, if they keep starting Duncan Robinson, which maybe they switch things up this year and go with Hero instead, he could easily win it again. And then the rest of our discussion doesn't matter. The Pacers will have presumably one decent guy coming off the bench. I have currently sharpied in because of what they've said and because of intuition. Halliburton, Miles Turner, and Jalen Smith starting. Good, done, easy. Two of Healed, Duarte, Matherin will start as the 2-3.
Okay.
And if I am guessing Matherin is as close to Sharpie as you can get. So whoever doesn't start between Duarte and Healed will have a ton of minutes to just score a bunch and not have any starts. I think there's good merit to starting either one of them. So whoever doesn't come off the bench, I think has a good shot. Like Buddy Hield put up big numbers coming off the bench for the Kings for forever. Now his defense was so
How
bad. He
old
never
is Buddy Hield right now?
30. He's 30 in December. He's 29 right now.
Okay. I feel like he's been around for a damn decade and a half.
Yeah, he's only been in the league for 6 years. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Got drafted at 24. People forget that his age was listed wrong when he came into the league.
Oh, yeah. He
So
just
the
didn't
last
correct
two
him.
players to get drafted at 24 in the first round are currently both employed by the Indiana Pacers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Facts you didn't know.
That is a trivia question that no one on planet Earth but you and I would get right until this podcast is put
Locked
out.
on Pacers trivia.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I need
That's
to
on
do
the
a
segment.
trivia episode. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I think Buddy would have a better chance than Duarte just by the way he plays. But they're probably going to prioritize the younger guy's minutes more. He could get traded.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of reasons to not think Buddy has a chance, even though he like kind of fits the profile of the guys who win. Like just offensive gunner, can shoot it, will be guiding the second unit to an extent off the bench. I think the way he plays makes sense to win it if he doesn't start, but he doesn't have quite the package. There's a reason he never got consideration with the Kings in the past, and that's because his defense is atrocious and he's just not quite all the player required to get it.
Yeah, and we go back to the winning records and everything, and I was just reminded that Tyler Hero won it as the number 1 seed. Like I just feel like that
does matter.
I feel like in the past, I'm only 28, but like I feel like in the past, in the 90s and stuff, like it wasn't that big of a deal, like that you were on a 35-win team.
Yeah.
But now, like if you're not on a 55-win juggernaut, I mean, you're losing votes.
It's hard because people always say, how valuable can you be if you're not on a good team? But I think you can be valuable on a bad team. But it's hard. It's hard because it's hard to say, well, it's not fair because his teammates are bad. But then you're unintentionally penalizing the guy who has good teammates, right? By default, you have to penalize someone's teammates, no matter what side of the coin you land on. Doesn't that kind of suck? I think people always talk about it backwards. They're like, oh, if you're giving this guy credit because his team is good and his teammates are good. But like if you do the opposite, you're then penalizing him for having good teammates by default, right? So
it's
this
is not tennis. This is not a single sport,
right? It's very. Whoever you ascribe value is fine. Speaking of value, last award, Defensive Player of the Year. Hey, I'm the most boring person on planet Earth because I have very similar people too who have been near or around the top for every year. But you get to go first this time. So who are your names you typed for Defensive Player of the Year? By the way, before you speak, Marcus Smart should not have won last year. Marcus Smart shouldn't have been in the top 5 award last year. Okay, go ahead.
I think I picked Rudy last time. But King boring take alert. I got Rudy Gobert number 3 this year. I just think that it's impossible. Have you seen what he's done in Eurobasket?
Insane.
Like the on-off numbers are just are Jazz worthy or Jazz. They look just like in Utah. But I think Minnesota is going to be about a league average defense. Maybe a little bit higher than that. That's why he's not going to be in my number 1. I don't think they have the chops for anything better when you have D'Angelo Russell on your team. I'm going to go with number 2. Bring out the hot take alerts. Bring it out. I'm pressing the button. Herb Jones, Tony, number 2.
Whoa! You are right.
Herb Jones, number 2. I think New Orleans, he's going to help New Orleans. He creates turnovers, forces turnovers in a way that I just think that's going to be absolutely necessary with a team that wants to run faster. They want to be faster with Zion. So if you want to get him those easier opportunities, force bad things to happen on the other end of the court, and that's what Herb Jones does. That playoff series was just sickening what he was doing to the Suns. Number 1, he just proved to us he's the best defender, in my opinion, of all time. I think he's going to have a badass I'm back moment. Even though he's older, not as good as he once was, Draymond Green. I'm taking him for
Wow.
this year. I think he plays 68 to 75. His body, he looks incredible for what you would think Draymond, because I feel like sometimes he looks bigger, sometimes he looks slimmer. I think he is absolutely in prime shape, and I think he's gonna be awesome.
We have less overlap than I expected, which is good for this. All right, we're going to play the game again, though. The one that you did not get TJ McConnell for earlier.
Oh,
Who was the last Pacer to get a vote for Defensive Player of the Year?
Miles.
Not a trick question this time. It is Miles Turner. 2 years
Okay.
ago, he finished fifth in 2018-19, right? Has the potential. And I bring him up to do the Pacer discussion now. Like,
Yeah.
their whole roster is kind of bad defenders, except for him and Isaiah Jackson. So he's the only one that has a chance anyway. But he has been in the mix before. He's been kind of, I feel terrible for him that Embiid and Gobert play his position, because he's never gotten any award for his defense, despite being one of the 5 to 10 best defenders in the league when he plays a full season. But I don't think he has a shot because those guys still play his position. And now there's another center who's ahead of him, and that is third on my list. That's Bam. Bam.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, Bam can defend maybe all 5 positions. Like, he's got the strength, speed, and size to do it. The Heat's defense is so good that they're going to be top 5 in the league. He's the best defender on that team. I mean, what did he finish last year? 4th last year. Like, I think he should, and he was 8 points behind Gobert.
And you still hear about it because he claims every single day that he deserves to be Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, well, I think he's fantastic on that end of the floor. So he was my 3. I went more boring than you. I have Giannis 2. I mean, all impact. The Bucks did the thing where they were like, hey, we're going to have arms everywhere on the court. And everyone kind of laughed at it for a while, and then they won a championship, and everyone's like, oh, wow, this works. And Giannis is a big part of that. He's just enormous. He actually can guard every position. There's very few guys in the league who can do it. But I told you I'm more boring than you, and that's because you're number 3. Rudy Gobert is my number 1. Number 1, Rudy Gobert. Why, you ask? Thanks for asking. Random person I just made up in my head. Well, 1, I'm way higher than you on Minnesota's defense because Gobert's on their team.
Yeah.
Just because he's on their team. I think he's a walking top 10 defense. The Jazz defense sucked last year, and Rudy Gobert got him to be a top 10 defense. Like,
were they really? I thought they might have slipped out.
Finish 10th?
You're probably close on that.
If they didn't, I'm going to.
I feel like they were very bad, but towards the end.
Yeah,
of the year.
they were. They were a bad defense besides him. I'm going to feel stupid if they weren't top 10 now. I thought
I'm sure they were.
They finished exactly 10th. Yes, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a walking by himself top 10 defense. And so Minnesota, who thankfully I have this tab up now, last year finished 13th and only 0.4 away from being a bottom half of the league defense, is going to go way up because he's on their team.
Good point.
And he's going to allow a lot of players to more naturally slot into positions.
How do you feel about Karl Towns guarding 4s like permanently?
He already kind of did.
Yeah. Like, I guess this is a small sample of stuff that's going to happen, because they're not going to play a Paul George every night, or they're not going to play a Kawhi Leonard every night. But I just see teams like that kind of abusing those kind of lineups. But I mean, I'm very optimistic about the Wolves in general, but maybe I kind of shorted their defense. You're probably right.
2 guys we didn't say that I thought about today when I was typing. One is the guy who just finished 2nd, Mikal Bridges. We just decided not to say his name. Maybe the best raw wing defender in the league. Him or Anunoby to me are in that mix. And that's extremely valuable in the NBA today. One of the few guys who gives stars trouble. Like, that is so hard to do. He can do it. That matters. And 2 is the guy who I thought was the best defender on the team that did have the Defensive Player of the Year last year, Robert Williams. I mean, that dude can cover so much ground. He's so long. He's so fast. He can't. The reason I don't think he should win is because he can't face guard some of these perimeter guys in the way that some other dudes can successfully.
Rob might be the best help the helper guy, to where if you step up on a drive, you have full assurance that he's behind you at the rim. Like, you can just give it up. I get Rudy Gobert is also probably tied for Rob right there, but that's his impact right there.
Miles will have a shot. I mean, if he's playing in games, he's a monster impact defender. I still remember Kyrie Irving in the playoffs in 2019 going yeah, we literally pass out of layups when he's under the basket. Kyrie Irving, some people call this dude the most skilled player in the world, which is ludicrous. But whatever, people say that about this dude who's yes, Miles Turner is scary. He has that level of impact and fear-instilling capabilities. His on-offs are going to look hilarious because his backups are all 22-year-olds and younger centers who are okay at aspects of defense, but not nearly as good as him. So, yeah, he's got a shot. I mean, he could lead the league in blocks for the 3rd time in his career, but if he doesn't get the rebounding there or can't just quite like guard a center like Joel Embiid, like no one can really guard him, but he gets his ass kicked, to be
So
frank.
do you want an all defensive third team to be created?
He would have at least 2 of those if
Yeah.
it existed.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he finished 5th in DPOY and didn't make an all defense team. Like that is stupid. That is just dumb, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, that would be great for him. I think there's already kind of too many awards. I'm not gonna lie. So I'll say no to your actual proposition, but it would be great for Miles Turner's career. That's all the awards. Do you have any other DPOY thoughts? If not, we can go on to the standings, which are much easier to discuss.
I'm an offensive guy, so absolutely not.
Fair. We'll do the East first, which the Pacers are in. And I'll tell you right away, Shane, I have the Pacers 14th out of 15 teams in the Eastern Conference. Yikes.
I do too. But I have them tied for that. So
I did not do win totals. I just ranked them.
Okay. Well then,
so
we're good.
No numbers. You just get to say they're 14th. Great. So the thing is, the top of the East, I think, is going to be pretty similar to last year. I think you can interchange the top 4 in some way, although it sounds like you're going to bust this with Nick Nurse's team. But my top 5 is the same top 5 as last year, just in a different order. So I did Bucks first, Sixers second, Celtics third, Heat fourth, Raptors fifth.
Say it one more time.
Okay, Bucks first because they have the best player in the world. Sixers second because Harden's going to be better. Celtics third. I mean, they're the best team in the East last year. Heat fourth, still talented but getting older, and then Raptors fifth.
Yeah, so I should not have come so hot about the Raptors because like I have them tied for that 4th spot. So It's not like something crazy, right? Like I have them tied with Miami. I think they'll be about equivalent teams. Toronto and Miami, that is. Yeah, after that, like you can't be wrong on this. For me, I think that's putting a little bit too much like trust into Philly. Just because I've seen what I don't think that they're the second best. I think Boston is probably second, and then I go Milwaukee 1. So I guess in order for listeners, Milwaukee 1, roughly 56, 57 type territory there. Yep. Then Boston, then Philly, then Miami, then Toronto. And for Philly, it's just I've seen Doc Rivers. Like I can't trust it, man. I can't trust it, especially when he signed or when he wants them to sign Montrezl Harrell, and then they brought him on, and he's going to be taking a lot of minutes from people that deserve. Like I just don't know. I don't like their team as much as the consensus, but I still like them enough to be a second round team.
Well, so. The other thing I thought about when doing this is like, it's kind of boring. I have the same top 5 as last year, but I'm like, who's moving in?
Yeah.
Like I guess the Nets could because they still have Kevin Durant on their team, but like I don't trust the Nets for anything. I don't think anyone does. The Cavs could. They have, Evan Mobley could be one of the best 25 players in the league this year. Garland was an all-star last year. Kevin Love almost won 6 man last year. They have Donovan Mitchell now. Like, they're awesome. Who do they jump in that group? Like, I still don't know.
I've heard the argument on some podcasts, and this is it's a valid argument in some respects that Cleveland was the number 2 seed before all the injuries to Jared Allen and
they were
Mobley.
Really high up there. Yeah.
So I get that, but then I also have to pump the brakes and say just because something happened in 2021 doesn't mean it's going to happen this coming year, or 2022 just doesn't mean it's going to happen this coming year. Like things don't always turn out that way. Maybe Darius Garland gets hurt. Maybe Donovan Mitchell gets hurt. Like you just don't know. And I think it's safer to go on what the concrete, like what the team is and their play style. And I think all those teams that you just named, including Toronto, people would push back on Toronto being better than Cleveland. A lot of people would. Cleveland seems to have the better team. But I think you and I love their system, their defensive style, their nastiness. I think Toronto is just a better team.
Yeah, the NBA is all about wings these days, and the Raptors have about 12 of them, and the Cavs have one?
Isaac Okoro? Like, is that it?
Chetty Osman's a wing, I think. So I think Toronto's going to be awesome. Yeah, but this is why the play-in tournament's so fascinating, right? Because the Nets, Cavs, Bulls, and Hawks are the next tier of the East. Like 2 of them are in the play-in. 3 of them.
I can tell you which one. I can tell you which one I don't like.
Not making the playoffs. Like it's insane. I'm a Kevin Durant truther. I admit that any sort of belief in the Nets is really dumb. Like I know this is dumb. I did Nets 6, Cavs 7, Bulls 8, Hawks. The Hawks with DeJounte Murray next to Trae Young at 9. I can't believe it, but I did it.
Oh my God.
I know.
I'm a Hawks 6,
Yes, a
Bulls
lot of people
7.
are. You know, DeJounte having the ball means Trae Young
Yeah.
doesn't. And like, yeah, he's an awesome defender.
Yeah.
They will be better, but I don't know. I can't pump him up that high. Keep going.
I gotta yeah. So Hawks 6, Cavs 7, Bulls 8, Nets 9, and that's only because I give up. I don't
Yeah,
know what to
yeah,
do.
that's fair.
I just don't know what to do.
That's
Like,
fair.
all right, if you tell me that Seth Curry, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons are finishing basketball games, 60 wins. If you tell me that's what's happening. But
But it
if
won't.
you tell me, oh, Joe Harris is gonna have an ankle injury again. Oh, Kyrie is out because of a family situation. Oh, KD had someone fall into his knee, sprained MCL. Like, I just don't know. I think the
Yeah,
Nets will win 44 to 45 basketball games. Like, and that includes, like, that's a winning record, but that includes the injury nonsense. But I don't know if you heard the other day that Kyrie Irving is seriously wanting to put forth an MVP season. So
wow.
we'll see.
No
We'll
other
see.
player wants to play well this year. So I'm glad he came out and said that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
bananas to me that I mean, I guess it's possible one of the top 5 teams we said has a terrible injury, and then it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
assuming generally equivalent health for these teams, like one of the Nets, Cavs, Bulls, and Hawks is not making the playoffs this year. Like it's just not possible. It's now the number of
I would
teams.
pick the Bulls to miss in that scenario because they don't have the talent like these other
Oh, by
teams
the
do.
way, LaMelo Ball was an All-Star last year, and the Hornets got a little bit better, although they lost Miles Bridges, maybe not. And the Knicks just spent $200 million on a backcourt. We haven't even mentioned them yet. So I don't know.
For
Yeah, the
good
Bulls.
reason.
You say the Bulls. I think there's a good chance they'd be the team to miss too. However, when they look, Lonzo's hurt still somehow, so that's a big reason I would pick them out. But like when they had Lonzo, Caruso, Levine, and DeRozan playing, they were like one in the East for like a long time. Like they should be still good, but I don't know why. I just can't.
Chicago beat the bejesus out of all the teams that they were supposed to beat, and then they just lost by double digits to the Brooklyns, the
Yeah,
Milwaukee's,
yeah,
Boston. So I, I feel like the East is better, which lends itself to Chicago losing more games against the top competition,
that
if
is
that
true.
makes sense. Yeah.
They're the hardest team for me to peg down. I think because they were so good when healthy last year.
And
But you're right.
you can't expect DeRozan to repeat that. You just can't.
That
Like,
is true. I saw him hit some insane shots against the
I
Pacers.
forgot about that. You were at the one of the
Oh, by the
3 in a
way,
row.
teams 10, 11, and 12, the Hornets, Knicks, and Wizards all would also like to make the playoffs this year. So good
Yeah.
luck to you all, I say, as an outsider. I mean, the Hornets losing the play-in 2
Let
years in
me
a
let,
row.
let
Go
me
for it.
ask you something. Let me ask you something about Brooklyn here. I love doing this with on the Excel spreadsheet with the team ranges. Like for Brooklyn's range, do you think it's like 1 to 10?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
stupid. Like
Yes.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, they have definitely the widest range to me. You can't just factor injuries into ranges. I think that'd be stupid, but you have to with the Nets. You know what I mean? They're the only team where you like
Yeah.
have to.
Like for example, just to highlight how bonkers that range is. Like Milwaukee's is probably 1 to 4. That's
Yep.
it. 1 to
Agreed.
4. Boston 1 to 3. I mean, they're 1 to 3. I'd go 1 to 3 for Boston. I just don't see how they could be fourth, really. I mean, they're too
Right.
good. But like, but Brooklyn could be literally out of the playoffs or best team in the world. Pretty crazy.
I put Hornets 10, Knicks 11, Wizards 12, which was painful for my Wizards childhood days. LaMelo's the best player on any of those teams. Yes, he's better than
Yeah.
Beal now. So that's why.
Whoa, is
But
he?
I think so. Who would you put
Okay.
above him?
I would go Bill, but
Okay, that's fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
yeah,
Maybe Beal comes back healthy and proves me wrong. I think that's very possible, and I love Bradley Beal. The Knicks are going to have an interesting season. If Randall's any good again, they could be awesome, but they also could not be. And then, my oh my, Tom Thibodeau, Leon Rose. There's going to be some chatter about those guys if that team misses the playoffs after the offseason they've had. And it's just tough. Like the East is tough. You got to be really good, and they have like the Wizards. I think have a lot of upward
yeah.
mobility chance if Rui gets better, if Avdia gets better. They have a lot of young guys who could, in theory, step up, and they finally get to see Porzingis plus
Yeah.
Beal. But
Dude,
I don't buy it. I just don't buy it.
the Knicks have 4 games apiece against Brooklyn, Boston, Toronto, and Philly.
East is
Oh
insane.
man.
The
But
development. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say you did your 10 10 to 12. I mean, I go Knicks, Hornets, Wizards. So
Give me a Knicks Nets 9-10 playing game.
Well,
just so I can talk about it.
if you want New York to burn down, we can do that.
The bottom three teams, we both have Pistons, Pacers, Magic. They're all rebuilding. The Pistons will probably be the best of those teams because they have Cade Cunningham. Do we need to say anything else about those teams? I mean, the Pacers could maybe win 30 games and they would still finish 14th in the East. Like, the East is that good.
I found every team's over under, and I created the spreadsheet in or mid July, so it's really outdated. But I'm not sure. The Pacers were at 24.5, and I hit under. So
when I did their schedule, I always run through it game by game. You can see the back-to-backs better that way. I got 26, I think. Oh, I have it in a tab. Why don't I just click on it? Yes, 26. So over 24.5, but still bad in the East. I think everybody knows the reality of their situation. Maybe Halliburton's awesome this year and they win 30 to 35, and then they would still be 13th because all the rest of the teams are trying to be.
Yeah.
The West is not the Pacers conference, but I still want to talk about the West. This is probably the only chance I'll get to go. We're going an hour, Shane. I'm so sorry. We're gonna beat the hour mark. That's a promise to you listening here. We're beating the hour mark.
That's how you know it's the greatest league in the world. Like, you can go an hour and it feels like 10 minutes.
That is true. Okay. The West is unbelievable. I mean, so like I talk about someone pretty good in the East missing the playoffs. Like, holy crap! I mean, I have a conference finalist last year as a play-in team. The West is ridiculous. So the only team that I have like a ton of confidence being pretty dang good again, that's because they're super deep, is Memphis. I put them pretty high, and then their Clippers are also really high. And we talked about them. Those are my top two. In that order, but I understand.
Really?
Yes. Grizzlies 1, Clippers 2. In that order. I don't think the Grizzlies are the best playoff-suited team in the West. In fact, I'd probably put them fourth playoff-suited teams, but they have a lot of depth, which will be valuable in the regular season, and a great coach. So, yes, I have them first and the Clippers second.
There is going to be a team here that we vehemently disagree on, I can tell. Vehemently disagree.
Is it them? Is it Memphis?
No, it's who you have. Well, kinda, but not really.
We'll get there.
My number one. You want me to go with my number one?
So it's Los Angeles, right? The Clippers?
No, they're number two.
Is it Golden State?
The Phoenix Suns are still going to be a awesome team.
Yeah, they're good.
Obviously, Robert Sarver should not be allowed to own the team anymore. Should sell it. We should get that out of the way. But I will say,
listen to Locked On Suns with Brendan Clean. Yes, agreed.
Absolutely, that guy's awesome. I will say, Phoenix. Write them down in pencil, maybe not in pen or Sharpie, but another 60-win season's coming. Their schedule is awesome if you want to. It's awesome on the easy side. Like, they don't go on the road for a long time. They have a lot of weaker opponents versus having 4 games against the better ones. I think they're going to be awesome. For me, Suns 1, Clippers 2. And just for the sake of like where these teams are, I got 60 wins for the Suns. I know you didn't do it, but I got 57 for the Clippers, so kind of right there on their behind.
I had the Suns 4, but I mean the top 4. I think we're probably gonna have the same top 4. It sounds like I have Grizzlies 1, Clippers 2, Warriors 3, Suns 4. Is that the same top 4 as you?
Except for I got Memphis 5. But
oh my!
Tied in win, so
who's the team that you did not have? Because that could mean we have the same top 5.
Yeah, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic in the
Nuggets. The same top 5. Okay, I feel okay about that.
Yeah. I feel like if you don't have that top 5, you're either like a hardcore Dallas fan or or something like that. Like, you have to be a big Wolves fan or Mavericks fan.
Yeah, I think you. Really... Okay, so we're pretty close on the order here. I have Minnesota 6. I really buy that team. I think Ant's going to be awesome. And I have Denver 5 myself. Jokic is going to be one of the best 5 players in the league. They're going to win a bajillion regular season games with him on their team. The playoffs in the West will be just ridiculous.
Like, think about this. Like, a second round matchup could be Clippers Warriors, and you could argue that those two are the best teams in the West at that point. Like, it's going to be ridiculous.
Oh, Minnesota, congrats on making a big trade and potentially having one of the best teams in franchise history. You get to play the defending champs in the first round, and if you win, you get to play Kawhi and PG. Good job. Yeah, I had Minnesota 6. That's my 6th playoff team. And it's nuts to me. I already mentioned this, that a team that made the conference finals, I put 7th in Dallas. Luca's insane. I mean, they could just waltz to a top 4 seed because Luca Doncic is on their team. They could also not because they are pretty low in the talent department. Besides him, they lost Brunson. They're counting a lot on good Spencer Dinwiddie
Yeah.
again and stuff like that, which is
And I, by the way, I'm not really I'm not gonna say I'm not a big fan of the Christian Wood addition.
yeah,
Like
yeah, me neither.
I, maybe if they didn't have JaVale McGee, that they promised a starting spot, but considering they promised him a starting spot, I just don't know how that is gonna play out. But
Agreed. Christian Wood puts up awesome stats on every team he goes to. And every team he's on does not re-sign him or trades him. Like there has to be something to that. You know what I mean? So yeah,
yeah,
maybe he's good, and maybe he finally fits in the right role in Dallas, and maybe he doesn't, and they don't.
maybe he hasn't promised to get better like Andrew Wiggins had to. He had to promise to get better.
But last I checked, Luca's still on their team. I'm going to easily put them seventh, and I think they will do just fine in the play-in tournament as long as Luca is on their team. That dude in big game steps up. I think they'll be a playoff team. And
The most interesting team is next.
Oh yeah. Well, are we guaranteed to have the same team?
That's the most interesting team, I'm pretty sure.
Is it New Orleans?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. All-Star last year in Brandon Ingram. All-Star 2 years ago in Zion Williamson. CJ McCollum fit that team very well. Herb Jones, like you said, could be one of the best 3 defenders of basketball. That team could be awesome. That team could be awesome.
Is it out of bounds to say like they could be better than the Timberwolves, and I wouldn't blink an eye?
For
Like
sure.
I wouldn't blink an eye.
For sure. I mean, no, I'm gonna stop myself. I was gonna say if you told me you believe that Zion, CJ, Ingram was better than the Nuggets top 3, I would hear it. I wouldn't give it to you, but I hear it. That's because I'm lower on MPJ than a lot of people.
That's because I'm lower on CJ. Like
yeah, but okay, I was too until New Orleans was much better there than Portland. Speaking of Portland, I have them 9. I hope you do too.
I don't.
Oh no!
This hurt.
The Lakers at 9.
Yes, this pains me to say it. Is like I just don't. I don't like the assembly the Lakers have. I don't like their culture. I don't like anything really about them. Come at me, Laker fans. But like, I just think they're more talented. If LeBron and AD are going to play, they're more talented.
They weren't even that good with LeBron and AD last year, but they were. But they were good with LeBron and AD without Russ. And so I will say, if they trade Russ before the season starts or early in the season, okay. Yeah, then I'll give them a top 8 probably. But they still have Russ. I put them 10, man. I put them behind the Blazers. The Dame is awesome. That team did a little bit of good tinkering. I mean, I have to put the Blazers at 9.
I keep forgetting about the Jimmy Grant component to this.
Big trade. But that's like the biggest trade of the offseason that didn't happen in Utah.
I guess. Well, yeah. What really?
Right?
Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah.
That's a big
because I'm so ingrained. I'm so ingrained to think that the Brooklyn Nets made a trade, but really they just they had all these threats.
So yeah, I'm probably missing something. Someone's probably going to call me down, but I think that's probably the biggest trade that didn't happen. And he's not like amazing, but like that dude was a 20-5-3 guy who was a good wing defender 2 years ago. Like that is exactly what Dame needs. Exactly.
What is the Lakers without Russ? Lakers sans Russ. What is their range?
Oh man. Like
can they get to 5? No.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I would say they could get to like 3.
I disagree. Yeah. I don't think they can. But
Shane, I have a question for you. Trivia time. Trivia time. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What team does LeBron James play for?
The LA Lakers.
The Lakers. That's right. So if they don't have Russ and they have LeBron, I think they could very easily be a top team in the West. Yes.
I'm also the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Maybe someday. That I mean, and this is where it gets crazy. It's like the Kings are going to be okay this year. They aren't going to be good, but they'll be okay. Sabonis. Pacers fans know a lot about him. De'Aaron Fox can have the ball all the time.
Mike Brown's 5th job.
Kevin Hurt. Yeah, they got a good coach to help their defense finally. Kevin Huerter's good. They got Kevin Huerter. And they want to make the playoffs. Who are they going to jump of that we've already said? If Russ is on the Lakers, maybe them. That's kind of it. Everybody else seems like a lock to be better than them. So they are firmly 11th for me. I don't know where you have them.
The Kings 11, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a big gap after that too.
Me too.
Like a big wins gap.
Which all the Kings need is one major injury and they will finally play an important game for the first time since I was like 5 years old. Yeah, the bottom 4 in the West, I think everybody's got the Thunder, Rockets, Spurs, Jazz in some order. I'm not gonna lie, Shane. I don't care what your order is. We're all going to stink. Shay's amazing.
I care. I care though. I care because I want Victor Wembanyama to be a San Antonio Spur. So I care.
Okay. Yeah, the Spurs kill this whole gap year program thing where they
Yeah.
just figure out how to go from one superstar to another. So,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you can have the Spurs last. I have the Spurs second to last.
All right.
I have the Jazz last. That team does not make sense to me. like I get that they have a lot of vets that could make them not last, but what the hell is?
I kind of want Jordan Clarkson to be on the team just so he can average like 35 shots a game.
Like Conley, Sexton, Bogdanovich, what was that? That Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. Like that's like okay, but like why are those?
They have no center. Like they have like
no. They're gonna be playing Walker Kessler and Udoka as a bouquet like a million minutes a game. Yeah, that team doesn't make any sense to me. They could try to win, I guess. Maybe they should be ahead of the Spurs or Rockets for me. But Shea's the best player on any of those 4 teams. So Thunder 12, and then the rest are the Rockets will probably be much better than last year. That order could go any number of ways. I don't really care how people rank them. Same with the bottom 3 in the East. If you want to put the Magic ahead of the Pacers, go for it. Like that, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. I can't wait to see how hard these teams tank because of you hear this every single year. You hear it every single year, but I think this is the year that it applies. It's the best prospect since LeBron. Like I think it's finally going to apply to that, and I want to see the navigation. I want to see the games go on.
Yeah, in the interim from LeBron to now, it was Luca, but I think Wemby is the best.
Yeah.
And Scoot is really good too, the number 2.
Yeah, point guard, right?
Yes, on the Ignite. Yeah. He's awesome. Okay, I didn't put this on the rubric, Shane, so I'll end this show with a curveball for you.
Okay.
Every year, one team is way better than everybody thinks they're going to be. It was the Pacers in 2017-18. It was the Cavs last year. It was the the Knicks the year before that. Every year, it's one team. Who has the best chance to be that team this year?
In either conference?
Either conference, any team.
Oh, best chance. I'm going Atlanta.
Okay, that's a good answer, I think.
Yeah, Trae Young could he's already taken the leap. He's already taken the leap, but like he could be an MVP candidate. So
that is a good pick. This is dumb because if you're picking someone, that kind of means you don't think like they're better than a team that fits the criteria. But I pick Charlotte. I for a similar reason. LaMelo is disgustingly good. They have a lot of young players that all it takes is one of them finally kind of clicking, whether that's like Book Knight or Kai Jones or any of the million other dudes they've drafted in the lottery in the last couple of years. Like I like Charlotte's team, and I think if LaMelo can get it all to click, they will be very good, potentially very good.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the whole like they just lost a max-ish type player. You know, it just with Bridges they lost that cap spot. It's not great.
Yeah, I mean, Miles Bridges did a horrible thing, so obviously it'll make the Hornets worse. But I still believe in what they have, and hey, LaMelo Ball is very good. That is my answer. Hey, we didn't talk about the Pacers very much on Locked On Pacers today for an hour and 10 minutes. A long Locked On Pacers. Hope you guys enjoyed tomorrow. Season preview time for none other than Benedict Mathurin, the rookie himself. We glossed over a little bit today. You won't want to miss that. Thank you guys a ton for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.